Hello, everyone. Oh, man. Midweek message. We are back again. My name is Shola Ade, and I am the founder of MBS Complete. Alrighty, so today we're going to finish up the series that we've been talking about for quite some time now. We've been going through burnout, relationship burnout, burnout in the workplace, and really digging into how to address burnout when it comes up in these different areas of our life. So today we're going to sum all of that up, bring it all together, and really emphasize some points that will be helpful. Now, thinking about burnout, right? It's one of those experiences that can sometimes feel unavoidable, right? We're constantly being pulled to do this and do that and show up in this way and go to work and be a parent and be a partner and be a family member, a sister, brother, mother, son. All of the ways that we show up for our friends, for people out in the street. There's so many things that we have to do on a daily basis. So it makes sense why burnout happens so often and to so many people, right? And it also makes sense why burnout looks differently depending on what we give more of our energy to. So if you, for instance, give more energy in the workplace, right, you may tend to experience workplace burnout. If you tend to give your all with your family, right, you may experience that relational burnout. So it's important for us to acknowledge that it can happen in many different arenas and be able to take the time to figure out what's happening, why it is, and eventually healing from that, right? So how to heal from burnout is the main thing that we're going to focus on today. Now, something that I emphasize throughout the videos prior, if you haven't checked those out, by the way, please go ahead and take some time, get your journal, get your pens, take notes, okay? If you haven't seen those videos before, you may not know what I mean. So I'm going to say it again, right? Spending time with ourselves is very crucial. It's very crucial in any healing process, I would actually say. We have to get familiar. We have to pay attention. We have to reflect. We have to go within in order to help move that process forward. And so it's the same thing when we're dealing with the burnout, right? We have to go within to identify our needs, right? What do we need when we feel very stressed? What do we need to not feel stressed? What do we need from others that can help balance out the day-to-day things that happen, right? So identifying what you need. And one of the best ways that I would advocate for doing that is to spend time with yourself. Now, this could mean journaling, writing about what's going on, what thoughts are coming up, and noticing any patterns. This could mean paying attention to the types of activities that you like to do. Maybe you're one that likes to go out every weekend and go for a walk or spend time with family or hang out with friends. Maybe you like to go out to eat. What things bring you joy, right? Reflect on that. And in spending that time just reflecting and thinking, it's likely better when you do it by yourself because you don't have other people asking things from you at that time, right? And it maybe even decreases some distractions that can come with having other things around, right? So spend time with yourself so that you can identify what it is that you need. So let's say you are somebody who enjoys hanging out with friends on the weekend, right? You may say that, based on this activity that I do, and I have to do it, okay, I have to see my girls or I got to see my guys. These things bring you joy, right? And so once you're able to identify that, maybe it's okay, I really value spending time with others, being social. And so maybe a need for you is having social interactions on a regular basis, right? So it's, again, being able to have those moments, come back, reflect on your own, and be able to pick out those certain patterns, right? So maybe you jot that down in your journal. Okay, spending time with friends is one of my things on my list. Okay. Maybe if you're someone who likes to go out to amusement parks, right? Maybe you enjoy the thrill and the adrenaline rush, right? Maybe you're somebody who likes adventure. Maybe you're someone who likes to watch movies, right? Reflect on those activities that you tend to do quite often, okay? Now, in you identifying those needs, you're going to again spend time with yourself to satisfy those needs, right? So you're going to spend time getting ready to go out. You're going to spend time scheduling those activities with others so that you can then do it and satisfy those needs, right? So you're spending time thinking about what you need, and then you're spending time allowing yourself to get that, okay? And then you also want to pay attention to when you would benefit from more, right? So maybe one week you're hanging out with an old friend from middle school, right? And it's cool, you know, you guys have gotten closer over the years. And then you're like, okay, this is great. And I'd like some more. I'd like to feel different. I like to have different experiences. So maybe then you reach out to one of your colleagues from work. You know, maybe you go out with them on one of the days during the week instead of spending all your time with maybe that one person. Or maybe you've had enough in social interaction and it's time for you to maybe sit home and read a book, binge watch a show, go for a walk in the park, spend some time in nature. Yeah, hanging out with friends is cool. This week, I'm just gonna do something different, right? So being able to do more and getting creative with it. It doesn't always have to be that if you don't feel fulfilled in a certain need that you're providing for yourself or a desire or want that you're providing for yourself, it doesn't mean that you have to do more of that particular thing. It could mean that you got to mix it up. You got to be flexible. You got to try something that maybe you've never tried before, right? So, again, that takes time. You getting to a place where you can sit with yourself and brainstorm on what that creative thing is. Or maybe you're just like, I got it. And then you go and do it. Maybe it doesn't take that deep reflection, right? Maybe you just do something on the whim. Whatever that is, whatever that may look like, the idea is that you have to be able to pay attention to you in order to identify those needs, recognize those needs, satisfy those wants, satisfy those desires, get creative with those wants and needs. So it all ties back to you, right? Interesting. It's so interesting. You're the one with the burnout, and you're the one that has the power to heal from it. That's crucial. That's crucial. And what I like to call this too is being able to refill your cup, right? Having a cup that is full versus one that's empty. So, like, take this water bottle, for instance. It's about a little over half way full, right? In order to refill this cup and get it to the fullest it can be, maybe you have to do some of those activities, right? Because if you're here, if you're starting here and you continue to drink, or people continue to ask for more water, right? What happens? It keeps going down. It keeps going down. It keeps going down. Now imagine if it goes down to the very bottom. People can't ask you for anything anymore, right? You may not have anything left to give to them or yourself. And so then we have to go through the process of refilling it. adding more water to it, adding more nourishment to it. And that's how we have to think about ourselves. We're adding more nourishment for ourselves, more space for us to feel that joy, right? Because maybe it does require you to empty those obligations, and then refill it with something that makes you feel satisfied. Maybe water doesn't cut it. Maybe you want some iced tea in here. Okay. So, again, that comes with paying attention and honoring where you are. Now, something I briefly touched on in that analogy, in that example, was the act of receiving and giving, which is another crucial part of this. When we think about balance, right? Let's think about a scale. If we're balanced in our ability to give and receive, we will always come back to the center at some point, right? Now, what happens if you're giving more than you're receiving, right? You become in a state of imbalance. What happens if you're receiving more than you're giving? State of imbalance. So we also want to think about ways to balance our lives through the process of receiving and giving. All right. So let's think about some more examples. If you're a working professional, right, and you're going out and maybe you have employees, maybe there's a boss, a manager, right? You're at work and you're giving your energy, you're giving your abilities and your skills to create some sort of end goal, to allow that end goal to come into reality. So when you're giving, right, the other side of that is receiving. Now let's think about, why is it so important that employees get that recognition for when they're doing well, when they're doing their best, right? They're receiving that praise so that what happens? They can continue to give and give and give. And when you give and give and give, you receive more praise, you receive more acknowledgement, right? You receive more attention, ideally, we could say. The same place that is taking the energy is also giving the energy back. Now, what happens if you don't receive that acknowledgement or attention from others, from your job? Does that then mean that you don't deserve it? What do you think? I'd have to say no. Just because you don't get the external recognition and validation and acknowledgement doesn't mean that you don't deserve it. It doesn't mean that you aren't giving, right? What it could mean is that you may have to give to yourself so that you can receive the recognition and the acknowledgement and the praise that goes hand in hand with what you have given. Again, it goes back to self, right? So you taking those moments to give so that you may receive is also part of the cycle. It still applies when it comes to you. Okay. Again, maybe in a perfect world, the same place that you are giving is also receiving, or the place that you are giving into is also allowing you to receive from that same pot. Maybe, ideally, that could happen. If it's not happening, though, you can still give yourself that praise that you need. And what happens is you'll still receive it. You still receive it, even if it's coming from you, right? And so another key part of this is prioritizing yourself, right? So who do you give to first? Do you give to your job first? Or do you give to yourself first? Who needs to receive first? What needs to be received, right? Again, I'd say that's you. If you give to yourself first, which means that you receive those good feelings, those open and joyous feelings as a result of you giving to yourself, you can then give to others. You can then put yourself in a position where you're giving to others, right? And then you're also putting it back in. You're receiving it, maybe from others or maybe from yourself. Okay. So you being able to give yourself, fill your cup up, you can then show up for your job in a way that's beneficial. You can then show up for your kids. You can then show up for your friends, your parents, your colleagues. Giving to yourself first allows you to give from an empty cup. From a full cup. Give to yourself first so that you can give from a full cup, right? And when you notice that the levels begin to go down, do what's necessary to fill it back up. And eventually, what may happen is that you give to yourself so much. You're constantly in a state of giving to self and constantly in a state of receiving. And in this beautiful cycle that just allows you to keep moving and to keep going in the way that you see best, you then create this ability to give from your overflow. Maybe with the giving and receiving that's continuous, you then start to generate an overflow. And then from that overflow, you give to others without needing them to give back to you, without needing to receive from them, because you've given yourself everything that you need. You've given yourself everything that you want. You have found a way to provide that. And so, in allowing that to happen, you then have more to give others. So, you're not taking from this bottle anymore that's full. You're taking from the leftovers. And again, because the cycle is continuous, maybe this bottle is never empty. Maybe the bottle is always full and running over. And from that extra, you can give to others. And then you go back and you give to yourself to some more. And then you go ahead and receive that. So it's a very interesting cycle where we are prioritizing ourselves and refilling our cup in order to maintain that balance within life. You prioritize yourself so that you are always aware of what it is that you need. You prioritize yourself so that you can give yourself whatever it is that you need. Now, again, it doesn't mean that you can't ask others for support, right? They can still have a hand. You have to give that permission, right? So it's still giving in order to receive for yourself. You have to call your friend up and say, hey, do you have some extra time for me? I feel like I'm empty. I want a little company, right? So you're giving them that permission to then show up for you, and you then are able to receive whatever it is that's missing at that point in time. And so the balance continues, the cycle continues. And the more you have, the more you give, the more others may give to you, the more you may receive from your others, from yourself and from others. So the cycle is continuous, right? And when we get to a point where we may feel out of balance again. We may feel that burnout, like we're giving so much energy and not stopping to see what else that it is that we need. Noticing those moments or noticing those patterns before they happen can protect us from that cycle. It can protect us from the cycle of giving, 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 and ending up empty. Okay. So take some time. Take some time to think about what it is that fills you up. What fills your cup? Again, be creative, be flexible, and then take the time to do what it is that you know will help so that you can continue to move forward in a way that best suits you. Okay. So I thank you all so much for tuning in to the last part of this series. Next time, we're going to talk more about the importance of self. That's going to be our next series, self-love, self-acceptance, recognizing that you are the source. Everything comes from you. And we're going to look at why that's so important to really understand. Okay. So I appreciate you again. If you have not checked out the videos before, please go ahead and do that. Take your time. Okay. Spend some time with you. Spend some time enjoying getting to know yourself and showing up in the best way that you can. All righty. Until next time, I thank you all so much for holding space and have a wonderful rest of your week.